I'm not going to waste your time. The single most important change you can make to your note-taking is this, making your notes visual. And here's why.
Never change though, still gonna eat some grits. And you know, if it ain't broke, why gon' get it fixed?
So there's actually two types of learners. There's visual learners, and then there's people that and we're all visual learners to some extent. After all, images have been around longer than words, so that's why we kind of remember images much better. And it's kind of like how we can always remember someone's face, but if you're a bad person, you sometimes forget their name. And according to my research, and by that I mean ChatGPT, people can remember up to 2,000 pictures with 90% accuracy, but struggle to remember more than 7 words in a row without making errors. So using this logic with our note-taking, if we avoid having our notes as just a slab of text like this, and turn it into something more visual so we can remember it easier, then we can avoid having like 1,000 flashcards. But also this actually helps us understand the material much better. So let's take a look at some of my notes, and the actual content here isn't that important. Just have a look at how I aim to transform this. So first stage of making visual notes is relatively straightforward. It's just rearranging the content so it visually makes more sense, and also more aesthetic if you're about that. But it's things like splitting up the paragraph, having nested bullet points, and also coloring, bolding, or capitalizing certain words to place emphasis on important ideas. I found it helpful to avoid using lots of words if I could. So you can see that I get rid of some words here and replace them with symbols such as arrows. And even though we're dealing with the same ideas and basically the same words, it's arranged in a way that's much more appealing and in a way that is much easier to remember. Now, sometimes there are concepts that are much more complicated, and having just text or words isn't that effective. So in this case, we want to use actual visual diagrams. And there are 5 key visuals that I found extremely helpful. So first up are flowcharts, which are basically used to link the different steps in a process. And then I just use arrows to connect each step. Next are tree diagrams, and these are helpful if you want to link concepts that have a hierarchy and then break it down into these smaller ideas. And it kind of looks like a tree. Also mind maps, and these are helpful for linking scattered concepts, and they kind of look like a tree diagram, but they branch out way more and they have very complex relationships. Then tables, which are used to link things that have similarities or differences. And for this, you can actually use my favorite AI tool, which is ChatGPT. And you can just say, make a table comparing 2 concepts, and it churns out a table for you. And finally, annotated diagrams, which basically link ideas into an overall picture. It's basically just a diagram that is labeled. And here's a summary of all 5 of these visuals in another visual table. Final tip, which might sound a bit dumb, but these visual diagrams aren't actually that helpful after you made them. It's actually the process of making them that is actually effective in helping you remember the ideas. And this is one of the best study techniques. So that's why I always try and make my own diagrams rather than try and finding them online. And yes, this does take more time initially, but it will save you more time during the revision process. So when you're making notes, it doesn't matter if you're handwriting them or typing them or what note-taking app you use. What actually matters is that there is as many visual elements as possible. That's it, 3 minutes, and I'll see you in the next one.